The stages of grief after a breakup. Today we will discuss those 5 stages, discussing what the science says. I will put all the sources that I used to make this video. If you're the first time watching one of my videos, welcome. My name is Alexis. I'm the avoidant therapist. I used to be avoidant. Now I help people dealing with breakups, building secure relationship. And it's important to understand those stages because sometimes we are confused when we are dealing with the aftermath of the breakup, figuring out like how long is it gonna be? Is it normal that I feel this way? So in this video, I want you to understand and recognize those stages so you can heal and move forward as quickly as possible. And yes, we can consider a breakup as grief. When we look at studies, so the Heisenberg one, which is very famous, heartbreak is similar to physical pain when we look at the brain regions, the areas in our brain that are activated. It's exactly the same. And what happens is that emotional loss also activates withdrawal symptoms. Now, important thing, we call those stages the grief stages, and there's an assumption as like you go from 1 to 2 to 3. This is not linear, unfortunately. And everyone will process them differently. Now, the way you process them is there's also a huge correlation with the support you have. When I say support, it's not only therapy. It could be your friends, could be people helping you to go through this process. In this video, I will also differentiate how anxious and how avoidant will experience this grief. So if I simplify, avoidant will suppress, anxious types will obsess. So if you have an anxious attachment style, what will help you grieve properly is finding ways to stop obsessing. If you have an avoidant attachment style, it's about naming and processing your emotions. That was the hardest part for me when I started working on myself, is the ability to name, understand, recognize my emotions. So the processing element is really key here. So let's start. Let's go with the stage number 1, denial. It's really when we feel the shock, when we're completely numb, when we wake up and we can't just function, right? We want to stay in bed. Even our body is just shut. We can't do anything. We are not motivated at all. Again, this is not real. It's not happening to me. What happens and why our body shut down is because in a way it protects itself from emotional overload. Other sort of symptoms is the dopamine drops, and that's why we feel like those withdrawal symptoms, because we don't have this spike of dopamine from the connection, from the intimacy, from the conversations that we had with our spouse, with our partner. And this is also the reason you might feel disconnected. So avoidant, what they do, they stay busy, they escape. So it's really about escaping things. I don't want to feel this way. I'm going to distract myself. Anxious, they will seek reassurance. That's why for anxious people, going into contact is very difficult because they really want their immediate reflex is, I need that reassurance. And the only person, the best person that will give me that reassurance is my partner, is my ex. So again, the point is this is usually quite short, this denial phase. After a few days, a couple of weeks, you're going to feel better. You're going to have your body, your mind will process things and you'll be able to move to stage 2. I know I said it's not linear, but usually you go to stage 1 to stage 2 fairly quickly. Then the difficulty is navigating those different stages because you might go back and forth from stage 2 onwards. Stage number 2, anger. Anger is extremely helpful because it gives you a sense of control. So you shift to, how could this happen to me? How could you do this to me? We direct our anger, our resentment towards this person. And that feels empowering. So in a sense, it's good if you're angry, if you're upset, if you resent your ex. That's part of the process. And we shift from a place where we had no dopamine to a place where we release a lot of adrenaline, right? fueling the frustration. Avoidance, they would blame the relationship. I'm fine. The world is the problem. I'm okay. I'm on my island. I'm self-sufficient. This is why everybody's wrong. Anxious would blame themselves, right? They blame themselves, they blame the ex. To the extreme of like really black or white type of answer. So when people call me, either it's entirely their fault or their ex. Guess what? It's 50-50. What happens is like when we suppress anger, we delay the pain. We delay the grieving process. So that's why it's important to not dismiss this phase, not feeling bad about this, just feel it. Feel that you're angry. Release this anger. The point is not to keep it to yourself or feel guilty or ashamed, because otherwise you will prolong this stage and this anger will consume you. So it's very important if you're in that phase or just want to smash someone or something, it's because you're in stage 2. That's totally normal. Let it out. It's healthy. It's normal. That's how you're going to process this breakup. Stage number 3, this is the dangerous one, is the bargaining. What if? If I change, will they come back? If I do this, will they change? Will they come back? Again, in this entire process, the brain seeks to control. And that's why it's hard to let go of a relationship, because we can't control the narrative, we can't control our ex's action. And that's why I always repeat on my videos, focus on the things you can control. Also an element, especially if you have an anxious attachment style, the rumination. When we lack control, when we try to make sense of things, there's a temptation to ruminate on the past and play the what if, what I call the what if loops. And when you text, because you have this what if and you want to test things, you reset things. So avoidance at this stage may test reconnection, but pull again. They're not sure. So they would just be asking friends or just say, hey, how are you, type of things. But you'll see it's going to be very hard to get into a proper conversation because they'll still be scared and haven't really grieved the relationship. For anxious people, this is where you would analyze and overanalyze and replay scenarios and dwell on the past for weeks. Again, the point is to recognize that you're in that bargaining phase. And, as I said, you can go from anger, bargaining. The point is to be aware, like, what am I doing now? And what needs to happen for me to progress, to move towards the stage 4 and 5. The point is acceptance really, really starts when you stop negotiating reality. When you feel this is what happened, I can't go back in the past. I can only build my future by the actions that I'm taking right now. Back to the things you can control. Stage number 4 is depression, is the emotional low point. It's when you feel like it's been months now. It's been weeks. I never feel okay again. This is where physiologically the serotonin will drop. That's why you're going to feel sad. That's why you're going to feel tired, lonely. Sometimes people mix up this stage with the stage number 1, but it's kind of a different, because this is like emotional loss at this stage. Avoidant, they will feel that emptiness. They will never admit it, and they will suppress it. For anxious people, you will have this fear of abandonment, these abandonment wounds that will be reopened. That element of that hopeless. I'll never find anyone. I'll never see him or her. Those statements that are usually not accurate. I can tell you, you'll find someone and you'll hear from them. That's if you have had a healthy relationship with this person, you will hear from them. You will see them at some stage in your life. They're never going to disappear from your life entirely. I'm not saying that you're going to get back together, but trust me, if this person was important, if you had an important relationship with them, they won't disappear. Now, if you're not sure about whether you're going to meet someone, hey, guess what? You were in a relationship before, so someone chose you as well. So again, be careful of those narratives, of those voices, of those beliefs, of those limited beliefs that you're ruminating on. It's painful, probably the most painful phase in this grieving process, but this one, and like any other, are temporary. What you need to do to manage this stage properly is around the self-care, is around the support system. Unfortunately, this stage is the longest, and that's why it's important to have the right platform to help you. Therapist, when I say therapist, it doesn't have to be me, but like someone you can talk to. Could be friends as well. Also, activities, things that bring you joy. Watching my videos, that's helpful. I hope you're learning something, but that doesn't bring you joy. So yes, this is part of the process, learning and growing, but also include things in your life that bring you joy, that bring you a sense of purpose. Don't stay at home alone every single evening on weekends. Do things, be social, etc., etc. That will mechanically help you with this phase of depression. The last stage, the most famous one, is the acceptance one, is when we have that clarity. When you realize, I don't need them to be happy. When you realize, I want to try things out, but on my terms. I want to try things out, but I really want to assess whether he or she can make me happy as well. I might want to try things out, but if it doesn't work out, it's not so much about me. I don't feel don't have any value anymore. It's just that we are not compatible. It's just that we've changed. Just that we had different agendas, that he or she can't meet my needs, and I'm okay with this, right? So at this phase in the brain, the dopamine starts to stabilize. The acceptance phase doesn't mean that, you're full of happiness. You can be sad. There's always an entanglement of emotions, but the difference in terms of the experience, avoidant might reflect, but they are still fearing intimacy. That's why we need to be careful when we reconnect with an avoidant, assessing whether they are doing anything to overcome this fear of intimacy or commitment. While anxious people, this is where they find the confidence and self-love. So you see, that's very important to understand if you have an anxious attachment style and you dated someone avoidant or the other way around. Your experience of grief will be different because the avoidant, as they suppress things right away, it's usually the stage 5, which is the hardest. While anxious, they come outside of this process way stronger after stage 5. Maybe the process is more painful, but when they reach the acceptance phase, they are stronger, they are more confident. And that's why they don't compromise on the relationship anymore. Understand that at this stage, if you are trying to grieve this relationship, it's not about revisiting the past. 10% of your time should be about assessing the past. When I work with my clients, yes, we spend a bit of time reflecting, analyzing the relationship, but that's just one session, right? When I do a 12 weeks program, the first session is this. Then we don't talk about the relationship anymore. And I focus all my attention and all my time helping my clients to build the right emotional toolkit, to develop resilience and confidence, to also learn about effective communication, anything that will make them create the right secure relationship. So out of 12 weeks of sessions, 11 are on what you can do, what you can achieve. And I always see my coaching program as a staircase. The first one is the foundations, and we discuss about the relationship and things that were not working. And then it's really about like how can every single week, every single session, between sessions, we make progress towards that goal around clarity, around confidence, basically building that secure attachment style, creating that secure base. And then whether it's towards the end or at the end of the program, we try to see whether this person that we had a hard time, where we had sort of a hard time dealing with a breakup, is maybe sometimes people don't want to get back together, and that's fine. It's very personal. Some people want to just not get a form of closure, but just get to know where they are because they grew so much. Usually what's fascinating is that my clients, as they grow and make progress, then they just want to check where their exes are. And by doing that, they see the amount of work. They see that they're not playing in the same league anymore. They're not doing it in the sense of like, I'm winning the breakup. You're miserable, you don't get anything. But it's more of like, okay, I made progress. I went on my path and I made the right decision. Because now I accept my faith and I accept that usually my next relationship will be way stronger than the one I left. Before I wrap up, few points. Grief is not linear. You're gonna move back and forth, and that's fine. Healing happens when you balance the pain and rebuilding life. So that's the emotional impact, but also what you're doing in your life to bring joy. When you suppress emotions, if you're avoidant like me, you're not gonna fix anything. You're just delaying the process. Understand that grief has nothing to do with closure. You may never get the closure from your partner. Very often people have a hard time accepting this, but that's how it works. The closure needs to come within yourself. And when you go into contact, it's not about punishing your partner, it's not about manipulating your partner, it's about creating the right environment to finally go through those stages as quickly as possible. Because the whole point is to be efficient and not waste months of your life resassing on the past, being stuck in anger, denial, bargaining, etc., etc. Right now, the only focus is on you. If you want any additional support, have a look in the description. I put together a community for people to exchange, discuss, where I also post some exclusive contents and Q&As. Have a look in the description. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe and like this video. That does help me tremendously to promote my content. I'll see you next time. Take care.